Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I'm super excited to kick off this Sales Mastery by introducing my friend and colleague and member, Scott Hartley. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Jessica. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. So Scott is a serial entrepreneur and founder of Master Plan for Success. He understands the challenges small business owners face, and he knows what it's like to wear all the hats in a business. Like you, he discovered there were aspects to running a business few entrepreneurs talk about: taxes, payroll, insurance, hiring and firing employees, marketing, just to name a few of those. Scott built his first company into a multi-six-figure business from scratch. It involved much hard work and hours upon hours of study and implementation. Through much trial and error, he discovered what worked to grow his business as well as what didn't. Taking his knowledge and experiences in 2017, Scott decided to help other small business owners shortcut their path to success by helping them with marketing strategies, systems, and automation. He has helped attorneys, IT consultants, financial advisors, psychologists, bakers, community organizations, and many others make more money and get and keep more customers without feeling overwhelmed and overworked. He has been privileged to share the virtual stage with experts like Grant Cardone, Laurel Langemeyer, Kim Walsh-Phillips, David Milton, Dr. Anthony Crinity IV, and others. And he has been mentored by Craig Ballantyne, Frank Kern, Dan Kennedy, Tony Robbins, and other small business experts throughout the years. In his free time, Scott enjoys being outside in nature, reading, traveling, playing piano and keyboard, and spending time with his friends. He has recently sang at the Framed Carnegie Hall in New York City in May of this year as part of his national choir led by world-renowned composer, conductor Pepper Choplin. So I thank you for being here, Scott. Thank you for being a member, a personal testimonial. I met Scott through a Facebook group where I was interacting with other business professionals about my CRM, which is Keep, and I had lots of questions about it. He was uber professional and helpful in getting those answered, and ended up hiring him to do some marketing strategy and automations for me within this system. And because of his IT background, he's just been a wealth of knowledge and an awesome referral partner. And it's just a joy to have met you. So I thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you. Scott's going to go through his presentation, folks. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. And then at the end, he's left time for Q&A. We'll go through that chat. We'll get those answered and things like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jessica. I really appreciate being here with you and everybody that's joined us here today. Really excited to share some marketing tips with you that hopefully you'll be able to take and apply in your business. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here because I have a lot to cover for you. Hope that you'll take plenty of notes, but a lot of content here that I think you'll find valuable, especially in today's economy. So the topic that I'm going to be discussing today are the 3 marketing mistakes that every smart small business owner should avoid. And one of the key things that I really would like for you to focus on is not just listening today, but taking something, whether it's one thing or everything that I talk about, and what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with the one thing that you can walk away with and make a difference in your business? Because the truth is what you listen to and hear today is going to either have a positive major impact in your business, or it's going to have a negative major impact in your business in the months to come. So I really hope that you will have a keen ear for something that stands out and that you can take and apply immediately, even yet this afternoon. So Jessica, appreciate the great intro that you provided about me. Just to kind of share a little bit more, I am a serial entrepreneur. So having started my own IT company back in September of 2004, we'll be exiting that come the end of the year. Looking forward to totally transitioning out of the IT world. Now my passion really is helping small business owners with their marketing and with their automation. And so I do classify myself as a marketing strategist. I really love brainstorming with business owners, the things that they can do to really move the needle in their business, to get more leads, get more customers, and live the lifestyle that they really have dreamed of when they started their business. And of course, I help my clients do that by being an automation architect, building the systems and the structure that you need to take a lot of your marketing activities off of your plate, but that they're still getting done, that you can know that it's going to run like clockwork for you. And you can look at the key metrics and only have to focus on the things that really require your attention. And something new that I've really dived into here the last half of 22 is email deliverability. And so most small business owners that I know, they do a lot of email marketing. But one of the things that they don't realize is most of their emails are missing out on thousands of dollars of sales. And so I help small business owners get their emails delivered to the inbox. And that's been a really fun journey for me over the past 6 months as I've delved into that even more. So enough about me. Let's talk about what's going on in the world. Most of you have seen charts like this on the news and online and in a lot of different places. And we all have felt this, but as you can see, we are at record high inflation. As you can see from this chart from January of 2020, inflation is up by about 6%. And it's no stranger to us if you've been in business at any point in time. This isn't the first time that we've been in this type of scenario, but it has been a while. And so there are some effects that it's going to have on our businesses and on the clients that we serve. And so with this inflation, you guys know these numbers as well. You know, when you go to the grocery store, significantly more expensive now. It was funny, I saw somebody had posted on Facebook, I think the other day, it's like, those eggs that I'm fixing for breakfast, is that now considered a gourmet meal? And it's like, maybe so. Electricity, we're going into the winter season here, and they're talking about very high fuel rates, gas and natural gas rates. Obviously, clothing, new cars. I've got a friend that's in the auto sales space. He's a car dealer, and it's been challenging for him having the higher cost for the vehicles. And then, of course, to run those vehicles, we have to have gas. So obviously, what you hear on the news is all this negative talk about, all this high inflation, all of the higher prices that consumers are facing right now, and how devastating that is. And here in the United States, that was the main topic of the election that we just had yesterday. So a lot of people who went to the polls and voted, the inflation crisis was on their mind. It's been on the radar of many experts for months. Back on June the 1st, Jamie Dimon with JP Morgan Chase, he was talking about the impending recession and the inflation that's coming. He's like, that hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way. You better brace yourself. Well, we've started to see more and more of that here in the economy as the months have passed. Elon Musk, love him or hate him for everything going on with Twitter, but back in December the 30th of 2021, he's like, if history is any guide, not many will make it past the next recession. And a couple of people had asked him, when do you think the next recession is going to be? And he says, my gut feel is maybe around spring or summer of 2022, but not later than 2023. And I personally think that he's right on target there. Whether, economists want to admit that we're in a recession right now by the technical definition, we technically are. But there are some things that are slightly different than previous recessions. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we can be talking about and how this negatively affects our business and it makes it tougher for us. But those of us who are resilient business owners listen to the advice of people who have been there in these types of situations before. Jack Welch, the former chairman and CEO of GE, says, never miss out on an opportunity like a good recession. And Richard Branson, the founder of the Virgin Group, says, in times of recession, there are massive opportunities and fortunes to be made. This is the time to go and start a business. So while we hear doom and gloom all over the news media and they paint this very dark picture, the truth is, as business owners, we have an amazing opportunity right in front of us, but we have to take advantage of it. We have to capitalize on it. And so that's what I want to cover with you today are 3 ways that you can capitalize on this opportunity that is going to set you up for massive success, even while your competitors are fretting about everything else that's going on around them. So I want to take you back to some studies done by the Harvard Business Review. And they did some in-depth studies on how the past 3 recessions affected U.S. businesses. And here's some of what they found. Number 1, they found that 17% of businesses just closed their doors. They either declared bankruptcy, they sold, or they just completely shut down. 80% of them had not regained their pre-recession growth rate 3 years after the recession ended. So whatever actions that they took during the recession, and they had some phenomenal growth in the years before that, 3 years later, they still hadn't regained that growth. And only 9% of the businesses outperformed others in their sector by at least 10% in growth in sales and profits. So a very minuscule amount took what they could and should be doing during the recession to use that to propel them forward in the years after. And here is a really poignant statistic or fact that they discovered. Businesses that cut costs faster and deeper had the lowest probability of surpassing their competitors when times got better. Basically, these businesses took a knee-jerk reaction and said, oh, things are going to get bad. We've got to start cutting costs. We've got to start cutting expenses. And instead of being diligent and really studying what's the most important things that they could trim back on, and maybe the least, they just went hog wild and they started cutting everything that they could. And that hurt them in the long run. Businesses with the highest probability of becoming leaders after recession were those that utilized a multi-pronged strategy. So I always tell my clients that there's never just one thing in business. There's not just one magic silver bullet that's going to give you success. There's not just one marketing media that you can use. And it's the same whenever you're going through tough times. There's not just one thing that you can do to weather that storm. It's always a multi-pronged strategy. And so what they discovered is those who had the highest probability of coming out of that recession in a strong manner is one that they cut their costs selectively. Yes, they did look, where's the fat in our business, the things that are really holding us back? What should we cut? But what should we also not cut? Secondly, they focused on operational efficiency. How can we improve what we're doing and how we're doing it? How can we use this time of maybe where it's a little bit slower to become better at how we deliver the things that we offer to our clients? And then finally, they invested in marketing and new assets and things in that type of category. One of the biggest mistakes that any business can do when we're going into a recession or we're in a high inflationary period is to cut back on marketing. That's what your competitors do. You want to invest in marketing. And so that's what I want to kind of set the premise and the stage for today's presentation of, as we're talking about the 3 marketing mistakes that you should avoid. Make sure that if you are investing more in marketing, that you're doing so strategically. So let's dive into the 3 marketing mistakes. So marketing mistake number 1 that I see in business is that they're doing spray and pray marketing. Spray and pray marketing. So when I started my IT business back in September of 2004, I quickly realized that I needed more paying customers, friends and family that were calling me up. That just wasn't going to pay all the bills, right? Now, as a small business owner, you probably have experienced this as well, but all of the advertising agencies come out of the woodwork. Everybody wants your money to advertise with them. So the newspaper, we have 2 of them in my community. Boy, they were blowing up my phones practically every month. The radio station was calling, the TV stations, and then of course there's the yellow pages. All of them were saying, hey, do you want to advertise in our media? And then of course you've got the high school yearbook, the Little League Baseball organization, other sports teams, and then lots of nonprofit organizations that are holding fundraisers. They're bombarding you with invitations to advertise with them, to support their cause. And of course, in a small community and even in larger communities, you want to be supportive of your organizations and the other businesses that are out there. So our natural tendency is say, oh, sure, I'd love to put a business card size ad honoring the firefighters in the upcoming issue of the newspaper. Absolutely, I will pay $75 to have my banner on the outfield of the Little League Baseball field, because I want to support you. And of course, that's what we should be doing, right? It's branding. We're getting our name out there. Well, that made up my marketing strategy in the early days of my computer business. And, I would basically just say yes to whatever came my way, because I have a hard time of telling people no. It's like, I want to be looked at as like, yeah, I'm supporting our community. But I also didn't realize what true marketing actually was. And so I was just kind of like doing whatever that came my way. I had no rhyme, no reason, no strategy, but I was doing something. The problem is the phone never rang. The business bank account didn't grow. And actually, it continued to shrink because I was wasting dollar after dollar on quote unquote marketing. For me, the stress and the frustration continued to build day after day, week after week, month after month. I was still putting in those 60, the 70-hour weeks, doing everything that was required to run a small business, but I felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. Why isn't this marketing working? My phone number's on that banner. Why aren't people calling me from the Little League field? They see my phone number. Why aren't people calling me from my Yellow Pages ad? Or by sponsoring this community event? I was ready to give up and go back and just get a job working for somebody else. Thankfully, I did not do that. But what I did realize is I realized the pitfalls of spray and pray marketing. Number one, spray and pray marketing creates indifference in the mind of your consumer because you're not showing up in a consistent way. They don't know, you don't have a consistent message. And so they see you, but then they tune you out. It really creates a lot of indifference. They don't really care. You get very minimal response. When you're using this shotgun style of marketing, it doesn't speak to anybody. And so, maybe you'll catch somebody at a time of need and they really need your services, but they don't really respond. You don't get the results that you're really looking for. One of the things that I found is that it's extremely expensive. Sure, that business card size ad might only cost $25 or $30. The banner on the outfield at the Little League park may only cost $75. It wasn't any big expense all made at one time, but it's those little things that add up over time that created this huge, expensive endeavor in the type of marketing that I was doing. So I didn't realize it nearly as quickly as I would have as like, oh, it's a $5,000 investment. It also stresses you out because you feel like you're doing so much, but you're getting no results from it. And so the stress continues to build. The frustration increases. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Why aren't I getting the results that I deserve? It's because you're doing spray and pray style of marketing. So what's the solution to that? It's marketing only to your ideal customer. Laser-focused, targeted marketing. And there are 3 pillars of targeted marketing. And I could literally go on for hours about this, but I'm going to drill it down into just a few minutes here. The 3 pillars of targeted marketing, and they do go in this order. Don't miss this. The pillars of targeted marketing, you have to build them in this order in order for it to be effective. First off, it starts with your market. You have to understand deeply and intimately who your ideal customer is. And you also have to understand who your ideal customer is not. You need to get in their head. What are they thinking about? What are their pain points? What are their problems? You have to know them intimately. You have to start with the target market in mind. Once you understand who it is that you're trying to reach, who it is that is going to spend money with you, who it is that needs your products or your services, then you go to your message. How do you reach those people? What do you say to them? What are the exact words and the phrases that's going to make them perk up and say, oh, this person is talking to me? You got to have that strong message. My blog post that I wrote today, again, is a targeted message. And one of those ways that you can use messaging is speaking to things that people are already talking about, the things that they're already aware of. So my blog post today, I talked about the election. And of course, we're not supposed to talk about religion or politics in business, right? But I talked about 2 lessons that we can learn from political races here in recent times. So I started with like what's going on in my target audience's head. What are the things that they're already talking about? And I create a message that goes along with that. The third pillar is media. How are you going to get your message out there? What are the ways that you're going to communicate with them? Where are you going to communicate with them? Are you going to be able to communicate with your audience on LinkedIn? Or should you use TikTok? Should you use postcards? Should you have a Yellow Pages ad? Should you have a radio ad or a TV spot? Those are the 3 pillars of targeted marketing. But what I often see is people ignore pillar number 1. They have no clue who their ideal customer is, what their pain points are, or how they can really help them. And instead, they go to what all of the gurus promote is the media. How many people do you hear from on a daily basis is like, oh, I can help you with your Facebook advertising. I can help you with your digital marketing strategy. I can help you get more followers on Instagram or on TikTok. Everybody wants to focus on the media. And then when they don't see the results from that, well, that doesn't work for me. I've tried email marketing. That doesn't get me results. I've tried having a Yellow Pages ad, but I didn't get any phone calls from it. The reason is because they went in the wrong order. They started with media instead of starting with their target market. and then building the message, and then figuring out the best place to reach their ideal customer. So that's marketing mistake number one, is doing spray and pray marketing instead of doing the targeted marketing. Marketing mistake number two is confusing or unclear messaging. Once you understand who your dream customer is and the pain points that they have, the problems that they're experiencing, and how you can solve them, you've got to communicate with them in a very direct way and in a very clear way. And so here are some characteristics of an unclear marketing message. First off, it doesn't identify your target audience. When you see an ad, when you see, a Facebook post or some sort of message, it could go and apply to anybody instead of calling out a target audience. It's very generic. It doesn't identify, hey, you. So like for me, my ideal customer, my ideal client is a service-based business owner. So I need to make sure that in every message that I'm writing, that I'm referencing something related to a service-based business owner. I may put it in the headline, attention, service-based business owners. That would be one way to identify the target audience. Secondly, it doesn't command their attention. You're not grabbing them with something strong, saying, hey, I've got something important for you. Listen up. Instead, it's really watered down. It's very generic. It doesn't clearly address their pain, their problem, or their need. Again, if you haven't done the homework on understanding your dream customer, you're not going to be able to really talk about what their problems are. And so you have to understand that in order to be able to clearly talk about their pain, problem, or need. And I battled this myself as well, because being a business coach, a marketing coach, it's very easy to fall in this generic trap of like, oh, you're a small business owner. You want to grow your business. Your pain, your problem is that your business isn't growing. That's too generic. It doesn't clearly address their pain, problem, or need. What's the specific problem that they're having that their business isn't growing? That's where I have to do the work and be really clear on, I understand that this is your problem. So for example, I talked about earlier about emails. I can actually go in with the targeted message and say 87% of all email marketers have a technical issue preventing emails from getting delivered that's costing you at least $1,000 a month in sales. That's commanding attention. That's also addressing a pain or problem that they're having. Another characteristic is it talks too much about your product or service. The bulk of your marketing message needs to talk about them. We love to talk about us, but they're tuned in to the radio station WIIFM. What's in it for me? It also focuses only on the features and benefits. Features and benefits. A really weak marketing message, doesn't clearly communicate what people are looking for. Marketing expert Dave D actually came up with what he calls the hierarchy of persuasion. And so at the very bottom level of this communication of persuading people are the features. What exactly are you giving to somebody? Maybe it's a 6-week coaching program that you're delivering. Maybe it's a course that has 7 video lessons and a workbook. Those are some features. The next level up are benefits. So what's the benefit that you're going to get from going through this coach? What's the benefit that you're going to have after you complete this 6-week coaching program? But there's 2 other levels that most marketers never actually reach. And those are the outcomes. What are the outcomes that somebody's going to get? And then most importantly, the highest level of the hierarchy of persuasion, What's the transformation that they're going to experience? When you can communicate the transformation, which most of the time is an emotional thing, when you can communicate that, that's going to make all the difference in the world whenever somebody is listening to your message, whether it's an audio format, video format, or potentially even just, reading the written word. So you have to focus on the transformation. What are the things that they're going to experience? What do they deeply desire? Don't just focus on the features and the benefits. It attempts to be too creative. So many people, they really go to great lengths to make these catchy slogans and phrases in an attempt to grab somebody's attention. But most of the time, that works against us. When you're too creative, people tune out. Super Bowl ads are the epitome of this. A lot of your Super Bowl ads are designed to be so creative, they want to make you laugh to draw your attention in for that 15, 30, 60-second spot. But a week later, a month later, after the Super Bowl's done, can you really remember what that Super Bowl commercial was about? What were they selling? What is it going to do for you? In most cases, the answer is no. Then it's also sounding really generic. Again, it kind of goes back to what I talked about a little bit earlier, is that your message could apply to anybody. It doesn't call out one particular target audience. So when you have an unclear message, what happens is, just like this little boy, they tune you out. They don't listen to you. They're not interested in what you have to say. So what's the solution to this marketing mistake? Obviously, crafting a strong marketing message. And I'm going to go in pretty deep here on what a strong marketing message consists of. First off, you speak directly to your prospect's pain, problem, or need. What is it? What's that one thing that they're really looking to solve? And how bad is that problem for them? What would their life be like if they didn't have that problem? But what is their life like right now because they really do have that problem? How can you agitate that problem they're experiencing? And you want to speak directly to it, call it out. Secondly, you want to use simple, everyday language. A lot of us, when we write, I know this is a problem for me, we want to sound smart. We want to sound like the authority or the expert. And so we try to use big words to communicate our thoughts. The problem is that causes people to tune out. Use simple, everyday language. My former business partner, he used to chide me all the time. He's like, Scott, use words that don't have more than 6 letters. Right? Keep it simple. Vividly describe the transformation that your client or customer will experience when they buy your product or service. Again, that transformation is the emotion that they will feel. What is that going to do for their life, going to do for their business? So, for example, in the marketing coaching, in the business coaching world, it's not just enough to say, if you adopt this strategy, it's going to make you more money. Sure, that's a drive and that's a goal for most every single business owner. I don't know of any business owner that doesn't want to make more money. But in and of itself, that's not compelling enough to make somebody take action. What is that additional revenue going to do for this business owner? Does that mean that they can take 6 months off every year and enjoy a worldwide trip with their family? Does it mean that they can hire more people and impact more lives? And how is that going to make them feel? Does it make them feel like they're doing good in the world? Describing that transformation in vivid terms so that they can paint that picture. What's also known as future pacing. Imagine if you already had this result. What would that do for you? What would that look like? Related to that is evoking the emotion. If you can make somebody laugh, if you can make somebody cry, if you can make somebody just really get excited about what's possible for them, no matter what format that you're using, that's going to make the difference. Remember, all buying decisions are, number one, they're made on emotion and then justified by logic. We get excited, we get pumped up, we're like, there's possibilities here. And then, yes, I'm going to move forward with that. Then we have to justify why we just wrote that check for $5,000. Why did we sign up for that $800 course? Evoke the emotion, because that's what's going to get them to take action. You also want to sprinkle in testimonials and social proof. Make sure that you're using and capturing testimonials from your happy clients and your satisfied customers, because you want to leverage those in all of your marketing messaging. You also want to make sure that you're using direct, powerful words. This is where I get hung up. It usually takes me about an hour to write a simple 300 to 400 word blog post. Part of it's because I do what everybody tells me not to do, is edit while I write. So I know I need to get better at that. But what I do in all of my blog posts is I go back through and take out all of those linking verbs. If you remember from English class, aim, is, are, was, were. Take out all of those linking verbs and replace those with direct, powerful action verbs. How can I reword this sentence so that it communicates the same thing, but it's communicating action? So instead of saying, he went to the store, I would use something like, he hustled to the store. Makes all of the difference in the world, but direct, powerful action words. You also want to make sure that your marketing message is clear. It's easy for us to really get hung up in the details. It's easy for us to really go down rabbit trails in our marketing messaging. Be clear, be concise, cut out all of the extraneous stuff. Create urgency. Create urgency. It's important that we're letting people know you need to make a decision. If you want to change your life, if you want to change your business, you got to take action now. Time is of the essence. That urgency could happen in a lot of different ways. It could be a scarcity. Maybe there's a limited number of spots in your program or in your coach or in your course that you're going to offer. Maybe it's a time-limited offer, whatever that the case may be, but you want to create some sort of urgency in your marketing message. And then, of course, you want to always have a call to action. Always, always, always have a call to action. What do you want people to do as a result of the message that you've just communicated? Doesn't necessarily have to be buy my stuff. And it shouldn't always be buy my stuff. That's a huge turnoff. But maybe it's reply to this email and share your thoughts. Or if you're doing a social media post, hey, comment below and let me know what you think. Share your experiences with me. Get them in the habit of taking action with every marketing message that you put out there. A simple formula that you can use is Russell Brunson's formula of hook, story, offer. That distills these 9 principles of a strong marketing message into a simple framework. Hook, grab their attention. Who are you talking to, and how are you going to capture and command their attention? Story, how are you going to draw them in? How are you going to describe the pain and the problems that they have and the solution that you can bring? Using that in a way that they can relate with, that's simple and using everyday language. And then finally, the offer. What's the call to action? What's the next step that you want them to take? Hook story offer works really, really well for all types of marketing messaging that you do. Finally, the third marketing mistake that I see businesses often have is the lack of a marketing system. Remember, I said that in the early days of my IT company, I was doing marketing, but it really wasn't marketing. There was no strategy. There was no system behind it. Everything was manual, and I had to keep on track of everything that I was doing, which was a royal pain. So what happens when you don't have a marketing system? Well, your marketing is sporadic. You're not doing it consistently. It's also reactive. Excuse me. It's also reactive because if you don't have a marketing system, you're not continually generating leads. What you're doing is you're responding to, oh crap, I don't have any new customers this month. Our revenue is looking to have a shortfall from where we really want to be. And so I've got to get a message out there. I've got to try to get a new customer. So when you have no marketing system, everything is sporadic and it's reactive instead of planning for regular growth. The second pitfall of not having a marketing system is no relationships with customers or prospects. When your marketing is sporadic and reactive, you're not actually building this community that wants to interact with you, that wants to hear from you. And so when you don't have a relationship, they don't really have a reason to buy from you. They don't really have a reason to stay on your email list or continue watching your videos or interacting with you in other ways. The relationship is one of the most important parts of your marketing. And again, it goes back to that very first pillar, understanding who your ideal customer is and how can I basically become friends with them so that they want to listen to what I have to say and what I have to offer. Inconsistent revenue is a third pitfall of having no marketing system. Again, that sporadic reactive marketing is because, hey, we're filled up. I've got all the clients that I can take right now. Everything's great. And then next month comes and it's like, oh no, the bank account's getting kind of small. And we have no way to fill that up. And so you're on this roller coaster ride of revenue in your business and the cash flow isn't really there. And we start to panic. And so therefore we have little to no business growth. With that inconsistent revenue and that reactive marketing, we're really spinning our wheels and we're not getting anywhere. And in business, there is no staying still. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. And so having no marketing system most likely means you're moving backwards. And of course, no marketing system means that you're doing a lot manually. So all of those social media posts you're coming up with on the fly, all of the emails that you're sending, you're having to write those the day that you really need and hope and pray that somebody sees it, clicks the link, and goes to your order form. It's a lot of manual effort rather than planning it out, building it out in advance, and saying, it's off to the races. It pains me to think of how many businesses are going to reach Black Friday and Cyber Monday in just a couple of weeks, and they're not ready for it. They're going to be scrambling around on Thanksgiving Day. Instead of enjoying that time with their family, they're going to be scrambling to put together a promotion to go out on Friday because they don't have a marketing system. So what's the solution? It's building an automated marketing machine. So some of the basics of an automated marketing machine or system that generates results. Number one is it allows you to segment your list. I didn't really go into this earlier when I was talking about your market and your message, but you want to make sure that part of that includes segmenting your list, having a targeted message. I'm working with a colleague right now that's serving the winery industry, and he was working with a particular winery and just kind of doing some email marketing testing. And so what he ended up doing is that he took a list of everybody who he knows likes red wine, and they had purchased something within the last 90 days. And he sent out a targeted email just to that group of people offering a new red wine just to see what type of response that he would get. Open rate was through the roof. I think it was like 50, 60%. The click-through rate was at like 20%. They generated thousands of dollars of revenue off of that one email because it was targeted to the people who loved red wine, they had recently bought, and we knew that they wanted to make or drink more red wine. As a test, we flipped that and we sent that same message to everybody else on his list. People who had not indicated an interest in red wine and people who had not bought in the last 90 days. The open rate, less than 5%. Click-through rate, less than 1%. Almost zero sales. The power of segmentation. So you want to make sure that you've got a marketing system that allows you to do that. Secondly, you want to make sure you've got a marketing machine that covers the entire customer journey. Everything from lead generation to customer retention and reactivation. Most of the marketing gurus out there are selling you, you got to get more customers, you got to get more leads, you got to get more leads. I don't agree with that. Not every business needs more leads. I've consulted with a number of businesses that have a gold mine of past customers sitting in their business that they haven't even tapped into. Yes, all businesses do need new leads because that's going to help us continue to grow. But you can't do that at the expense of ignoring your existing customers or your past customers. Don't write off people who haven't done business with you in the last 6 months or the last year or the last 5 years. There's a possibility that as you start doing some of the things that you're learning today and you send targeted messaging to them, they may come back. There's hope there. So you want to make sure that you're covering the entire customer journey in all of your marketing and in your marketing systems. You also want to make sure that you're using multi-step, multimedia campaigns. Multi-step, multimedia campaigns. Just as there's no one magic bullet that's going to help your business grow, there's also not one marketing media that's going to attract the attention of your ideal customer. You may want to be on social media. You may want to use direct mail. You may want to also do radio ads. Using multiple ways to reach people is going to make you stand out. You're going to grab their attention. Some people like to watch videos. Some people like to read. If you can create marketing message using both of those type of media, that's going to give you a better chance of getting more sales. Multi-step is very important as well. So many small business owners that I consult with, well, I mailed out a postcard to my list and I didn't get anything. You mailed out what? A postcard? You mean one postcard? Yeah. Really? I mean, the post office is not the most reliable, so that postcard may not have got delivered, but people are busy. People get distracted. If you just show up once, you're not really grabbing their attention. People need reminders. At minimum, I recommend that you do a 3-step series of any type of marketing that you're doing. Should have a minimum of 3 steps. An automated marketing system mostly runs on autopilot. So most small business owners that I know and that I've worked with, they are still wearing all the hats, or most all the hats in their business. They're like I was in my IT business. Sure, I had a couple of techs working for me, but I was responsible for the business growth. I was responsible for making sure that the taxes got paid. I was responsible for payroll. I was responsible for accounts receivable, for accounts payable. I was responsible for all of that. The last thing that I wanted to do was actually have to remember to mail out the monthly newsletters that we sent out to our clients. The last thing I wanted to do was actually have to sit down every single day that an email needed to go out and write that email that particular day. So I built a marketing system that ran on autopilot. Yeah, the work still needed to be done. Some of it, a lot of it, I could outsource to somebody else to do it for me, and then plug it into the system and it would run. I hit go, boom, the emails go out. I hit go, somebody else gets the fulfillment list. Here's everybody you need to mail the print newsletters to. A marketing system also allows you to track and measure your results. If you're not looking at your numbers, your marketing is never going to improve. You've got to look at the return on your investment. Find out what's working, what's not working. Don't give up on the things that aren't working. Figure out how you can tweak them and test them and see if you can make them work, if you can get them to work. So that's the third marketing mistake, is not using a marketing system, not having an overall marketing plan to help you reach your ideal audience. So as I wrap up here this afternoon, I'd like to offer you a complimentary gift of my marketing messaging checklist. So you can go to my website, masterplan4success.com/messaging. And you can request your copy of the marketing messaging checklist. Again, this is that middle pillar. So how are you going to speak to your ideal customer? What are the things that you need to include in all of your messages that's going to help your ideal customer buy? You can take this checklist, print it out, keep it by your computer, and you can check things off as you create your next email, your next sales letter, different things like that. You can use this to help you craft messages that will actually convert. So, and with that,
Scott, will this PowerPoint be available to everyone on the call?
Yes, I can give you a copy of this and you can share that out. Yes.
Great. Do you want to, is it a link, or how would you like to do that?
Yeah, I'll send you over a link to it, and that way you can access it.
All right. And Dan, we had a comment that we wanted to put what in the chat?
So there was, let me see, a comment in the chat.
I thought that was a request for everyone to put their information in the chat. Am I missing something?
Everyone, you could sure do that right now. If you'd like to download the chat list at the end of the session, feel free to put in your information in the chat right now. And then at the end of this, you could hit the 3 dots and hit save chat. So this way you have everyone's details. So you can feel free to do that right now. And while we're on it, does anybody have any questions for Scott before he checks out? You could also feel free to unmute yourselves.
Question. I think the hardest thing that I have with this is, at one point you say, don't be too wordy or be too specific. And then at another point, it's be general. So I have a hard time coming up with what's the middle ground there.
So can you give me like maybe an example, or?
So, so I'm a realtor, and I recently had to do, I just joined NIA, so I had to do my video, and I made it somewhat general in that I didn't go into a lot of detail about what I do for my clients, yet let people know what I liked about being a realtor and then how they can contact me. So I didn't go into what do I do for buyers, what do I do for sellers. So I guess I'm just really kind of getting into marketing. I've been a realtor for 10 years, but haven't really concentrated on marketing. So I'm really kind of struggling with what's too general, what's too much information.
Sure. So great question. And sometimes it can be kind of challenging when you're creating like the NIA video that you're going to put on your profile. Sometimes it can be kind of challenging because you don't want to just like target one specific group, because obviously you can help buyers, you can also help sellers. So what you would want to do is like create more what I call an umbrella message for those types of cases, where, you know, what can you do for both types of clients? What do you bring to the table? What is a pain point that most people have when they're either buying or selling a home? And how do you solve the problem? But it's a pain that would apply to both of those. And how do you make that different? Maybe it's your style. Maybe it's your level of communication. Maybe it's a frustration that people have with other realtors that they would never have with you because you do things differently. You can put that into a marketing message that's kind of the umbrella and say, this is why you should work with me, because you won't experience this problem. But then if you're going to do targeted marketing, let's say that you're going to do a marketing initiative and you want to focus only on buyers with that, then the pain and the problems that you're explaining with that, you want to focus only on people who are looking to buy homes. And so in that case, that's where you would be a lot more specific because you're speaking directly to buyers. Does that kind of help?
Patricia, I also just added in the chat, you know, my wife was a realtor. She was the impetus behind us starting Network in Action. And I came across a guy named Brian Buffini. I left you his website. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's got an awesome program for marketing for realtors. Highly recommended. It solely launched her real estate career, quite frankly. It's all she did, but she followed religiously. It was very successful.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, Mr. Hartley? Dan, if I could take over the screen 1 second.
One moment. All right, you got it.
I would like just to show you real quick for anyone that would like to have more sales training at their fingertips. In the far right-hand corner of your site, once you log in, hopefully it'll log in here real quickly.
I am running a backup right now, so it could be a little slow today.
Under Business Solutions in the far right-hand corner, there is a coaching platform for all Network in Action members 24/7. Dan, you want to try to show it, see if yours is going a little faster?
I already have it loaded up. Just give me one moment.
Thank you.
All right. So it's my share screen button. Bing. All right. When you head on over to Network in Action under
go back. Thank you, sir. Right there. When you go back one screen and you see every month who the speakers are, right below it is Business Solutions. And there is a free CRM system for you. But what I wanted to highlight was the coaching platform. So when you click on Get Started right there, you can create your own login. And there are tremendous sales courses here. So go ahead and click the login button. When you come over here, down on the bottom right is Sales Mastery. And once you log in, you don't have a login there, Dan?
It's escaping me. It's been a while since I've been on this. Give me one second and I'll show it.
Once you go here and you log in, you'll see that there are sales courses you can take in the privacy of your own home, as many of them as you like. There are also articles on that platform about helping you write emails and directly reach out to people. So be sure and take advantage of that Network in Action benefit. Any questions around that? Well, I appreciate your time. I hope every single one of you have a fantastic Thanksgiving and a month full of gratitude. It's my favorite month of the year. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your support of Network in Action. We appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you, Mr. Hartley. Have a great rest of the week.